or good morning, wherever you're based. I know it's good afternoon for Zane. What's up, Zane?
Hey man, what's up? Yeah, it's 2:30 here right now.
What do you have for lunch, brother?
Uh, Yam, boiled yam, and fried eggs.
That sounds fire, brother. I had I had it's this horrific American cereal. It's called Pops, and it's literally just sugar cubes that you put in milk, but they taste really good. But it's horrific for your health, and it's probably chopped like
That sounds diabetic.
it is diabetic. Anything American is just straight up diabetic.
That's crazy. So, what do you have planned for today?
Today we are sharing the roundtable with my friend Abs. I don't know how to pronounce that, but we are joining him to talk about Garden Finance, which is a trustless Bitcoin bridge, which I'm pretty excited about. I used to work at a Bitcoin L2 protocol, so I'm pretty knowledgeable on the Bitcoin DeFi scene, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on it, and a lot of people don't know you can do a lot of stuff with your Bitcoin. You're not just limited to holding it or spending it on ordinals or runes that are only going to go down. You can earn yield on it. You can borrow against it. You can bridge it to like 30 different Bitcoin L2s. But there's a lot of cool things that you can do to make your Bitcoin more productive and earn more Bitcoin just for holding it. But yeah, I'm very excited for this conversation, and I believe he has speaking rights unless Elon is going to rug the space. Abs, how's it going, sir?
GM, it's good to finally be here, and GM to Zane. I think I see Zane more on my timeline than anyone else, and he's always just like shit posting. So yeah, I mean, more power to all the shit posters out there. But yeah, it's good to finally be here on this space, and I'm looking forward to just yapping.
Well, Zane is our chief yapper, so you better be seeing him a lot. That's what we pay him for. That's what we pay him for.
Real.
Well, welcome everyone. 4 minutes in, I guess we can kick things off. Welcome to the Roundtable. If you haven't been here before, this is a Twitter space held by me and Zane. We do it once a week, every Tuesday, and we just kind of get on the space with a based project or founder and talk to them about their project, talk to them about crypto and privacy and everything else under the sun that could potentially be interesting in the crypto sphere. So today we have with us Abs from Garden Finance, like I just said earlier. So Abs, take it away. Give a quick intro on yourself. Who are you? What is Garden Finance? And we can take it from there.
Yeah, so Garden Finance, as you mentioned earlier, is a trustless peer-to-peer BTC bridge. My role there is more on the marketing and growth side of things. And like to put it in a very simple way, where people understand, it's essentially a bridge that is just like seamless as fuck. And what I mean by being seamless is like, rather than a traditional bridge which relies on intermediary parties, essentially Garden is a peer-to-peer trustless bridge. So meaning that you actually don't need middlemen to go through and transact your trades. And so it uses this thing called atomic swaps. And what atomic swaps essentially do is that it essentially allows you to trade very effectively and efficiently to like other chains. So you could go from like Bitcoin to like USDC on Arbitrum, or like USDC on Ethereum and other chains that are coming up. And you do this with this cryptographic thing called hash time locked contracts, and essentially it facilitates all these things without the risk of you losing your funds. And I think that's a very big thing that used to exist with Bitcoin bridges previously, where your funds would then go out of your wallet, and then it would go to somewhere in the middle, and then from there it would go to the other person, or the market maker that's selling it, and then you would get the funds, and then there would be a lot of risks involved in these sort of like procedures, because any of these sort of routes could get hacked, and then you'd lose your funds. But with atomic swaps, that kind of like changes the entire game. And for majority of our swaps, you can do the swaps in like less than like 60 seconds. Max it will take is like up to 10, depending on like the blocks. But yeah, this is literally what like Garden Finance is in a nutshell.
Yeah, I saw that you guys just integrated with Unichain, which I honestly didn't even know there was a Wrapped Bitcoin on Unichain. But that's been a huge success for you guys, hasn't it?
Yeah, we did like close to like $100 million, just over $100 million in volume over there, and then we collected like 150K of fees just from Unichain, and I think it's only been like less than a week since we've sort of like released that integration. So yeah, there's been a lot of positive volume from there, and it basically shows you that like we're moving towards a future where every single chain is trying to look to obviously bring Bitcoin volume on the chain, and you can tell that a lot of people are also trying to move Bitcoin out of the chain to other chains, or simply just convert it to another asset.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congrats on your guys' success. But you've made like Garden Finance has made 150K in fees. That's actually insane.
Yeah, and like when you look at the fees that we actually charge on some of the trades that we do, it's a very, very like minute. Like for example, if you were to do a trade that accounted up to let's just say like $150 trade, you would be charged like less than like 50 cents on that trade, which is I think pretty reasonable pricing for a trade of that size, and it obviously gets done in like pretty fast as well. I wish we were on like a stream or something, so I could like run like a demo of the entire sort of like transaction. But yeah, I mean, if anybody sort of has like Bitcoin or they have like ETH or USDC, they should try like bridging from like ETH USDC to like Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's huge. I know a really big issue with a lot of bridges is that the fees are really high. Like last night I was using Jumper Exchange, which this isn't shitting on Jumper Exchange at all because it's like a bridge aggregator. But I was selling a bunch of tokens and liquidating a bunch of stuff, which of course Trump comes out today and says, oh, we're making a $2.5 billion Bitcoin fund, which pumped all the tokens today, which never take trading advice from me, guys. It's a horrific idea. If I sell, that's your time to buy. It happens every time, and I'm so mad about it. Sorry, I went on a tangent, but what I'm saying is like the current state of bridges is the fees are really bad, and that could be because of slippage. It could be because the bridge itself is just really greedy, or there's just not a lot of liquidity on both sides of the bridge. But I'm interested to hear like how do you keep fees so low on Garden Finance when you're like interacting with all of these different chains?
Yeah, so that basically, like a lot of credit for that goes to the entire sort of tech team at Garden. So like a little bit of background on these guys, like they've been in the bridging solution like game for almost like 7 years now. And when you've been in the sort of bridging game for 7 years, you technically tend to find like these gaps in code, which other teams don't pick up on. And also, there's this protocol called Ren protocol. So if you were in the space like back like 5 years ago, you would have known a Ren protocol. And Ren protocol was basically another bridging solution back then, and it was like a $10 billion swap, essentially that did like $10 billion of volume. So they've had a lot of learnings since then. But obviously I can't speak on like exactly what's in the code and whatnot, but they've made the sort of contracts in such a way that allows users to obviously transact at an effective and an efficient rate.
That's awesome. Yeah, I honestly didn't even know Ren protocol was still a thing. That's like the OG Bitcoin bridge, if I remember it correctly.
Yeah, and it's not a thing.
Oh, it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, so like as long as I'm aware of like how it went down, essentially it was banked to like FTX, and then like FTX obviously collapsed, which saw like obviously rent collapse.
Yeah, many such cases with that. Many such cases. That's terrible. Well, cool, man. I see that you guys are also integrated with Hyper EVM. I wish I knew that earlier because I just bridged a bunch of Bitcoin to Hyper EVM to deposit into some protocol to farm points on it. But I don't remember how much in fees I paid, but I think it was like the native UBTC bridge. But that's interesting. Awesome. I believe you didn't give an intro on yourself, Abs. And is that how you pronounce your username? Am I like butchering that?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly how you pronounce it. You're right.
So what do you do at Garden Finance?
So I work on the sort of like the growth and the content side of thing for Garden Finance. One of the things that what I focus on is essentially making the sort of content digestible as possible and making it sort of attractive at the end of the day, because I feel like a lot of the content that gets shot out in DeFi in general, or obviously BTC-Fi, and BTC-Fi is like even more boring. It's like if you think DeFi is boring, like BTC-Fi becomes even more boring. So like one of the goals that obviously me and the team have is like okay, how do we make every integration that we do sort of attractive? How do we make sort of information about volume, or whether that be about like a walkthrough, like how do we make it digestible for like the end user to then sort of understand? So something that we've started recently doing is that every single integration we do now, whether that be Hyperliquid, Coinbase, or whatever it is, we don't sort of just do the normal logo to logo partnership side of stuff now. Like we actually spend time crafting like this creative sort of content where we're like, okay, cool, like what would the end user enjoy watching? So we whip up these like 20-second, 15-second things that we record. Our design lead, Constantine, he's just an amazing guy. He just has like an insane creativity scope. So yeah, we've just been like pushing it out. You probably would have seen with like Uniswap, we did like a video where we just put like a horn on top of like a dog, and we said we ran out of unicorns. We made like a video, and then it did well. And so yeah, that's just sort of like where my expertise comes in, where I sort of chime in on there. And yeah, this is nothing more to it.
Yeah, I see the video now. That's hilarious. The dog in the video, that's a Whippet dog, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's a Whippet dog. I'm not too good with my dogs.
I just shared it to the space. It's actually pretty funny, and that's super creative. Like I totally agree with you. I think the current state of crypto Twitter content is just absolute garbage, AI slop, and just logo x logo, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. I am seeing kind of a shift, especially with like your guys' content as well as like Sofon's with Miggy's content is doing really, really well. I think we're seeing a really big shift to this short form video content that's very simple, easy to follow, easy to go viral, rather than just like static images and explainer threads that are pretty hard to read. And I think that shift is happening because of all of these AI tools that make it so easy to make high quality text content, but none of them are very good at making this like real life, super creative, out of the box video content. Which is something we could be doing better at Nillion, and we will be doing better. But it seems like you guys are kind of leading the path.
Yeah, I feel like what the sort of direction the space is going to go down in like the next like year or so is that I feel like video content is something that's going to like ramp up a lot, because the only way to separate one protocol to another, there's too many protocols in the space, and the only one way to separate it is obviously through having like an insanely good branding, and then the other thing is like having people like obviously as the face of the product, because at the end of the day, regardless of what like the tech is under the hood and whatnot. Like people resonate with people. One of the reasons why I started looking into Nillions very deeply was obviously because you were on the timeline, Zayn was on the timeline. Just saying, post all these like murky photos of himself acting all goofy, and it was just funny, right? So people resonate with people at the end of the day. And like going back to the conversation of like Miggy and Sofont, like as an L2, like the fact that they've been able to separate themselves from like all the other L2s that currently exist, and obviously Abstract as well at the same time, is because there are real people behind these products that are building these products, right? And you can see them; they're actually there, and it just builds that sort of layer of credibility, which you cannot like buy. At the end of the day, regardless of how much VC funding you've raised and whatnot. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be a thing that every team's going to like lean into eventually if they want an edge in the current space.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I will have to dox here eventually, and unfortunately, because of the shift to short form video, I could wear a mask. There's a couple of content creators that just wear masks in their videos, but I think that's kind of cringe, to be honest with you.
You want to go down the Frank D Gods vibe?
The Frank D Gods vibe. Oh my god, does that guy even still exist?
I'm not sure, but I think his whole era of like coming up as Frank D God. I'm not sure if you were there around that time of the D God era, but like him obviously wearing like a mask around at every conference he went to, and then him doing a final reveal of who he was like the craziest lore that will ever exist.
Yeah, I definitely remember that the D Gods era. I also remember them bridging to every single blockchain possible, and then going back to Solana, and then I don't even know what chain D Gods are on now anymore. Does anyone know? Are they across like 20 different chains now? It's insane.
I think they're on Solana. I think back to Solana.
So ridiculous, dude. But no, I don't know. I feel like the master cringe. Like the people who go to conferences and they're like an undoxed personality and they do a speech on stage and they're wearing like a ski mask and a voice changer. Like I don't know. Just don't do the speech. Just don't go on the stage. Like what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do if someone jumps out of the audience, they hop on the stage, they rip your mask off? What are you gonna do? Right? I don't know. And you look stupid. Like it just looks dumb. Maybe it's just me, but
yeah, maybe you're gonna have to doc soon. This is the way it is.
I think so. I saw from Boys Club, whatever the name of the person that runs Boys Club is. She was doing like these whiteboard videos, like explaining these complex crypto things. But it was funny. It was funny. So I'm thinking like maybe I'll get just a giant whiteboard in my office and then just start doing these like real life explainers of like what Nillion is, what crypto privacy is, what is crypto and things like that, and try to make it whimsical and funny. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I actually rate the way Boys Club going about their content. Like I feel like it's very sort of like it's very funny, but it's like very digestible at the same time. And it's like very purposeful. Like they do it on purpose. But yeah, like I think we need more content like that in the space.
Yeah, and I'm a really big fan of Scroll Text too. Have you seen them?
Scroll Text.
Scroll Tax, like taxes.
Oh, Scroll Tax, yeah.
Yeah, they're absolutely hilarious. The way they do their interviews, like two people with microphones just sitting on both sides of the person and kind of just shoving their microphones in their face and asking them weird questions. I think it's just absolutely hilarious. It's so funny. If you haven't seen them, I highly recommend it. I can share a tweet to the space so people can watch them.
Yeah, more power to RL creators.
Wow, I think Launch just shrugged.
Nice.
So yeah, well, I think you already gave kind of like an intro on what Garden Finance is. So do you guys have like anything in the works that you plan?
So, yes, I would say like obviously from like the integrations that we've been doing, like we do have like major integrations coming at some point, this quarter or next quarter. And those obviously include some like major chains out there. So we want to make sure that, essentially the end goal is to make Bitcoin accessible to all the sort of like major ecosystems and chains that are currently present out there. So I would say that's probably like the major thing that we're looking forward to. The other one is obviously solidifying like the current product suite that we have. So making sure that, the swap is more efficient from like a design point of view, and it's more efficient from like, gas, etc. So yeah, these are like, obviously these seem like small tweaks, which they are. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that, the platform is optimized as much as possible for anybody that's visiting it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, what would you say is like the biggest differentiator between, Garden Finance as kind of like a trustless Bitcoin bridge and other solutions out there?
I would say two things. I would say obviously, like, I could go on about like a LARP about doing like a comparison of like, the speed and the cost, which I feel like in certain areas, Garden does sort of beat other competitors in the market within the same sort of like atomic swap niche. But I would say the biggest differentiation just comes down to how the platform is designed. There's a lot of effort that the team spends into like designing everything that we sort of put out there on the website, whether that be how the button placement is, like how less sophisticated the entire platform looks, and from just like the platform being very seamless for a user to access. So obviously, like now on the platform, you can literally trade your BTC with like as less clicks as possible. I think it's like less than 2 clicks. I could be wrong. I think it's 1 or less than 2 clicks that you can do your transactions within. And like the whole thesis that we've sort of like carried is like, how do we make the end user bridge with as less clicks as possible at the end of the day. And that's something that we're obviously like, trying to improve on every single day. Like if we could get it to, go without any clicks, that would be obviously like, ideal. But yeah, that's the sort of like North Star. It's like, how do you make the platform seamless as possible, where the user doesn't have to, think or like navigate across the website to understand how to do bridging? Because I think that's one of the biggest roadblocks that we see with, bridging platforms. Is like there's too much going on those platforms, and sometimes it's just too overwhelming for the end user. So yeah, I would say that's like probably the biggest differentiator currently.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks. Oh, it seems Alon's actually back now. Did you network?
I'm back. Sorry, I got rugged. We're so back. We're so back. Zane, your question actually reminded me. I wanted to ask Abs. Are you guys more focused on like EVM Bitcoin bridging, or do you guys also support bridging like to and from Bitcoin L2s and Bitcoin mainnet?
So we actually support Bitcoin bridging from mainnet as well, and EVM. Obviously, it's very restrictive at the moment in regards to like the amount of chains that we have. So we're rolling that out slowly on the EVM side. We also do want to expand on like the SVM side of things as well, which will alpha would like happen sometime. I'm hoping like end of this quarter or like early next quarter. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, I used to work for Stacks, so shout out to them. I think I've ran past you. You guys should support Stacks. It's great L2, great people.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So what do you think is like the number one thing you could do with your Bitcoin on the chains that you guys support?
The number one thing that you could do with your Bitcoin, and just
like highest yield, like borrowing against it. Is there like some sort of DeFi growth hack you can do that people don't think about?
Yeah, I mean, you could stake your Bitcoin, and then you could earn like yield off the Bitcoin itself. So, like one of the things that we have is like reward sharing at Garden, which is essentially that you could stake our native token, which is called Seed, onto the actual staking sort of facility that we have, and it basically depending on the amount that you stake, we basically set aside X amount of fees as like rewards in Bitcoin, and that gets redistributed back to some of our stakers on a weekly basis. So that's one thing that you could essentially do with like quote unquote not your Bitcoin directly, but like with Seed, like the native token. But the other thing is that you could take that Bitcoin to like a yield farming protocol that supports it, and then just throw it in there for like I don't know, like somewhere between 1 to 4% yield. But I feel like with Bitcoin, you would rather just hold the asset than like throw it into like a yield pool, unless you have like a ridiculously large amount. Like it doesn't make sense to me to throw it into like a yield pool if you have like half a Bitcoin or like one Bitcoin. Like the upside is like very less compared to like your Bitcoin just being like absolutely like rugged or stolen if like something happens to the protocol at the end of the day. So yeah, I would say like if we're talking about use cases, the best use case is probably the fact that Bitcoin is used as like a peer-to-peer transaction sort of medium across borders. And I think Venezuela is like a perfect example of it, how people within the society of Venezuela actually use Bitcoin as like that sort of medium of transaction for money, rather than using like the local banks and stuff there, which are like not reliant at all. So I feel like that's where the power of like Bitcoin is, outside of the fact that you can do yield and all this like gimmicky stuff with it on chain.
Interesting. I was today years old when I found out that the Garden Finance token was live. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, the token's been like live for I think just about like a year. And yeah, like obviously like we haven't been like ranting about it or anything like that on the timeline, because like we've just been very focused on actually like making sure the product is like good at the end of the day. But yeah, there will be a shift towards us looking more into like the actual token and putting it up in the forefront. But before that, yeah, we just wanted to make sure that the product was good, because at the end of the day, like if the product is not good, then it's not really going to sustain the token in the long term. But yeah, that's one of the use cases. That's an alpha. If you have seed tokens, you can buy seed tokens, you can stake it on our platform, and you can essentially earn Bitcoin rewards in return for that.
I'm really glad that you guys are doing product first instead of token first, because I feel like a lot of projects just try to infinitely shill their token and just hope that the product will follow. But that's just not the case. You have to build a really good product first. You have to have a really good tokenomics flywheel, and then the value will accrue to the token based on that. I mean, look at Hyperliquid. That the token's been up only, blowing minds. But then again, the Hyperliquid token is built on top of this really fantastic perp trading product that also happens to have a Hyper EVM chain, which is interesting alpha that I just found out a couple of days ago. Did you, going back to your point on like there's so many different protocols, like how do you keep track of them? Do you know how many chains are on Gas Zip alone? Just guess a number. Just to guess how many blockchains.
Like 20, 25.
Nah, it's more than 25.
Times that by 10.
Oh, yeah. 250 crazy.
There's literally 200 blockchains just on Gas Zip that you can send gas to from any chain. And each chain has its own collection of protocols, whether that's Aave forks or Uniswap forks, blah, 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 DEXs, they all have it. I found out yesterday, Hype EVM is pretty new. Like it came out a couple of months ago or something. And there's already 65 protocols on that chain. Like, how the hell is the average crypto user like us, degens, locked into the trenches, supposed to know which protocol are we supposed to use, which one's safe, which one has the highest yield? Like that's the real problem we need a solution to. And I think Kaido and these info platforms that incentivize people to just do a small amount of research on a platform, make a tweet about it, have made the problem so much worse because you don't really know who on Twitter is trying to sell you something versus who is actually genuinely interested in the protocol. Is there something interesting to see here? Is this yield like backed by VCs or is this real yield? And yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird space. It's a very weird time in the crypto space where I feel like there's more protocols than there are users.
Yeah, I think on the conversation of InfoFi, I think InfoFi is like the biggest like fluff that has like come out as like a narrative. And I just feel like yes, you can say that there are upside to obviously platforms like Kaido, obviously incentivizing creators that before couldn't use their platform to be sort of monetized, and that's like obviously smaller users and mid-scale users. But I just feel like it's created this entire bubble of just people creating random content at the end of the day that isn't even like isn't even there, but like it has no value. And I see it all across my timeline, like people farming the entire sort of like leaderboard just to get attention, and it's like literally a number on the screen. So yeah, I feel like projects need to be very sort of like aware of that, because you are spending like 150 racks to get listed on these platforms. And at the end of the day, like once that sort of TG happens, it's the platform that ends up winning because of the fees that they're collecting off that. So yeah, I think that's something to keep in mind. I feel like InfoFi Meta is probably on its like, I would say like third quarter of its leg. I don't see it lasting past this year. Like I'll be if it does.
Isn't that insane? Like projects are paying $150,000 just to get listed on Kaido. Like that is so crazy to wrap your head around. Like, okay, you're listed on Kaido, which is like the new hot thing. But I feel like if you gave me or Zane $150,000, just liquid cash, we could run the most successful marketing campaign of all time, bro. We would be, I don't even know what we would do with that amount of money, but I know it would probably do better than a Kaido campaign would.
Yeah, I think
the best two, man.
Yeah, I think like $150,000 could help you get like so much regional activation globally. Like you can fund a lot of like this real, because I think for me I have this idea where I quantify mindshare. Is this mindshare real mindshare, or is it like mercenary mindshare? So it's very hard to get lost in the idea of you having mercenary mindshare of things. It's definitely not going to be sustainable, because once something is mercenary, it's not retainable. It's just going to like keep bouncing around onto the next thing. So if the core of your mindshare is from this mercenaries, it just shows that you're doing something obviously wrong. But if you just go like into the trenches with $2,000 to like $5,000, you could host regional activations in a lot of countries, and you're going to be onboarding actual real people that are probably like getting exposure into your projects for the first time. Because I think that's kind of like what projects need to focus, in my opinion, with respect to like marketing. That's because on like net new people, because I see all of us on like CT right now as kind of like contaminated, yeah, because we've housed a lot of we've been subject to a lot of beatings in crypto over the past like couple years. Do you get? So we're not really like pure or fresh. The people who have now like grown to become agenda driven, different type of things. So, but if you bring someone entirely fresh who is literally like a noob, doesn't know anything about crypto, and you are their first foray into crypto and they get to like see the clear value prop in what you're doing, that's like a much that's like net positive in my opinion. Even if you do not have all these the most hyped mind share on Twitter, you have the more real mind share in my opinion. So if you're like spending 150k to be talked about on Twitter, whereas there is no real conversion, I think that's like the biggest problem I for one have. There is no like straight pipeline for converting people that are like creating mindshare for you to actually using the products you're trying to like offer. So but if you're going to real life activations, you're like letting these people like feel all of these experiences, or you're kind of like actually showing the reason why your products matter. I think for example, what happened today with the Solana founder, is kind of like a very good example, because the average person relates to it. So if I want to say, I need to like tell someone why this matters, for me I'd rather like just tell my friend here and like get him to like see the what's the word I can use, the light in these things compared to like the things that are existing today. So I think it's about like that delivery, making sure people are actually understanding, because a lot of people now just talk, they do not understand. Like that's kind of like the sad reality of things. You see people talk about things like that they do not understand, and I think that's really bad, because it's just going to be reducing the average intelligence, in my opinion, because you're kind of like being subject to an environment where you should not think. Like you're incentivized not to think, and it's sad because you just like stop thinking and then just become like sheep. I think that's kind of like the word sheep, because you just like propagate whatever it is you're being led towards. You just eat the grass and then that's it. So I think a lot of like people need to. I think it is like a good idea, but it's just incomplete. I think that's kind of like the way I can frame it. It's just incomplete, and there needs to be like kind of a shift. Like you need to be able to generate, retainable mind share. Like that's like be a way to do that. But the reality is, human beings, wherever there's incentives, we are always going to like game it. So it's almost impossible to like practically to actually know what is real and what isn't. So it's just for projects, if you cannot generate mind share without Kaito, I think that's like a very 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 huge problem, and you need to like look within, try to see like where is wrong or where is not wrong, because if you can't get people to talk about you without being on the particular platform, I think you have like bigger issues. The money you're paying to be on that platform, if you like use it elsewhere, you get like literally more than 10x the returns, because at the end of the day, any form of marketing that doesn't like translate to usage is not really like the best type of marketing, because the essence of marketing is to get people to see the light in what you're doing and then build on what you're building or use what you're building. So that's kind of like my own take on it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the cost of mindshare has decreased so much that I don't think mindshare is a very good metric for tracking success for a crypto project anymore. Like, I think in like 2021, 2022, the biggest success metric for a crypto project was like TVL, total volume traded, like very money related numbers. And then after that period, we shifted more to how much mind share does your project have? How much engagement is getting on Twitter? How many valuable mutual followers does a project have? And how many like big CT names are talking about your project? And I think we're kind of shifting away from this, and it's more like how many real community members, how many real people are benefiting from your product. And that's like that's like the new key success metric, because we found out that every other metric in the past can just be botted, manipulated, or used in some way to make it seem artificially inflated. So it's like, how many genuinely interested people can you get into your project using your product, and like community members that that are really interested in your product that can onboard new people into it. I think that's what I'm really focused on at Nillion. It's not so much how big can we grow the community? Like how many people can we get into the Discord, into our private Telegram channels, into our Twitter chats? It's like, how can we get a small amount of people to really care about Nillion, care about privacy, using these ecosystem applications, and how do we give them the tools and resources they need to share their passion with other people? So it becomes less like we're casting a wide net to catch as many people as possible, and it's more like we're going to do one-on-one conversations with these very passionate people, and we are going to help them bring new people into the community, and that's the success metric we're chasing after. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting shift. I think there's going to be new Info-Fi primitives that come up that compete with Kaido, try to do better things than Kaido. We saw it with Cookie 3 that I believe is launching some sort of campaign today. And there's going to be other competitors as well. Like Fantasy Top is doing something interesting where they have these, they're yaps, but they're named something different. They're weighted, so
Snaps.
if you're a really small account, is it called Snaps?
We're talking about Cookie?
Fantasy Top.
Fantasy Top. Not sure.
I know it's something. But their algorithm is interesting because it weights your engagement versus your follower size. So for an account like mine that has 5,000 followers, if I'm getting more engagement than an account with 100,000 followers, I'm going to get more of these quote unquote yaps because my account is smaller relative to the amount of engagement I get. So that's a pretty interesting one. I think with Kaido and potentially Cookie 3, it's a lot harder for a small account to gain traction versus these large accounts, because now it's a lot easier for these large accounts to gain even more power in a shorter amount of time. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's insane. I just wanted to like tie into your first point here. I think any idea that is fundamentally like incentivized is never going to be sustainable. Because, you mentioned like TVL previously. TVL used to be like the metric to determine how successful your product is. And then, once there became that like clear general incentive to be the one with the highest TVL, it just kind of like bred gamification. Then you see people trying to like do a campaign that is going to hurt the TVL long term just to like boost their TVL and get that like bragging rights, or rather let me just say validation. So that's like, this is kind of like what incentivization occurs. Info-Fi as we have right now too, you see people trying to like game the system, not necessarily like because there's not incentives like both for like the builders and then the users to be the one contributing the most to like mindshare. So at every level there's just going to be gamification. You see builders trying to like find any way to like get the most mindshare. You see users trying to also do the same, do anything to get the most mindshare, because the upside is there for them to have the most mindshare. And then another one's the average person right now, or maybe it's just how crypto is now culturally. There is literally this lack of patience, you get, and people always wanting to take shortcuts, even from like the TVL side of things. You have people, instead of just building cool things, and then like the apps, all of these things that are going to be built on top of you just attract like retainable TVL, because those people that are coming into your ecosystem, they are not coming to say, oh, I just want to farm points and then leave. They are coming because, oh, I found this cool app on your blockchain and I'm trying to like use this app, so I'm bringing my economic value to your blockchain, it's usually like basically long because it's not something that usually happens overnight. It's kind of like accumulated growth over a period of time. But the upside to getting instantly high TVL is there because you just kind of like probably justifies high raise or all of those things. So you would want to like take shortcuts just to like get that validation. The same thing with like Mindshare as it is now because TVL has been rendered obsolete as a way of like judging value because there is just so much like unknowns and like gamifications that have come around it. So it's kind of like Mindshare is also going through the same process right now because it's literally like getting easier and easy. Once something becomes the standard, it gets easier and easy to like find a way around it. So people now would just rather like just go, hey, let me pay you to like talk about me than give you a reason to talk about me of your own violation. So I think once paying people to talk about you becomes the default and people start to get exhausted, so then the meta will go just the same way TVL as a meta went.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. My general theory on crypto is that it's a game, and when people learn the rules of a game, the game will be gamed. It will be manipulated, it will be cheated, it will be hacked in any possible way. Like, I don't think a lot of crypto protocols understand this. Like, I grew up as a gamer, so I know a lot about the lengths that gamers are willing to go to cheat games, modify games, and hack games. Like, these crypto protocols do not understand that some people have infinite patience, infinite wisdom, and they will spend years attempting to game a system or add a mod to a game or figure out something that was not, figure out a way to use a game or a protocol in a way that it was not intentionally designed to be used. It's literally a game of cat and mouse. Even Rockstar Games, like a multi-billion-dollar company, they cannot stop hackers from manipulating money in the multiplayer mode or God mode or any other sort of cheat. And that's a multi-billion-dollar company that has entire departments dedicated to stopping cheaters. It's like these crypto protocols with 4 or 5 team members, they don't stand a chance. So you have to put a lot of thought into your incentive systems, these projects that are running point systems, just kind of sending them out to the world and saying, oh, go have fun with your points. There's industrial farms that are going to manipulate the absolute hell out of it. I mean, we experienced it with Nillion testnet, right? Like, we said anyone can run a validator, anyone can run a node. And then what we found was there was like 500K wallets that ran a node. And out of these 500K wallets, most of them were just these industrial overseas farming companies that were just farming the airdrop. So a controversial thing that we did, and we got a lot of backlash from these industrial farmers, was we cut them out of the airdrop completely. Because we did the math and they were all going to get like 2 to 3 nil tokens anyways. But we cut them out because we said, you guys are gaming the system. You are no longer included in this. So it's just like, you really have to think creatively when you're designing crypto economic incentive systems. And yeah, it's a very big brain thing that a lot of crypto protocols don't put a lot of thought to. Abs, we got kind of sidetracked here. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I feel like what you guys did with like the whole sidetracking like these large major farming companies is probably the best way to go down, like mid to long term. Like short term, yeah, you guys received sort of like backlash for it, but I feel like that's the sort of like, standard that you have to set for your brand and your protocol, that you can't just come in here and like farm us off. That we are building a legitimate product. And the token is essentially a sort of like a coupled product to the entire main product that we have. So, I mean, I think about it that way as well. Like even with, Garden, like a lot of people don't know about like the token that we have, and the reason for that is that we have not like pushed it in like front of people's faces. Like we've made sure that, you know, we have been able to establish PMF to begin with, and obviously that sort of has come into picture now. And you bring in like the entire sort of like token game into it. And I feel like a lot of, and I feel like the easiest path, and obviously this isn't just like linked to a protocol, but it's obviously, you know, a blockchain thing as well. But it's just easy to, you know, use the token as like a carrot that you can dangle for like literally forever, whether that be, you know, like spending unlimited grant money or like, you know, using it on KOLs and creators and whatnot. But at the end of the day, like there is a shelf life to that. Like you cannot continue to do it forever. Like people, you know, catch on to it. The price of the token starts to drop and whatnot. So yeah, I feel like you always have to be in that sort of product first approach. You know, incubate builders, incubate users onto the ecosystem that actually care about building the product and actually care about using the product. And then sort of bring in the token from the back end as like a flywheel to basically reward these guys. And obviously, quote unquote, bring some utility to the token at the end of the day.
It's so weird to me that some protocols or like L1s or L2s, they release a token before their product is actually live. And it's like they're kind of doing the Russ Hanneman strategy, right? They're doing they're basically saying, oh, we don't have revenue or users yet, so technically our valuation is infinite. And that turns out to actually be the case. Like a lot of these protocols that launch the tokens before they're live, their valuations tend to be much higher than they should be at launch. And it's just like a sneaky little thing that these projects do. I mean, we saw it with Move in Movement. Like even before all the crimes and all the all the suspicious shit they were doing, it's like, why are you guys releasing this token before your chain has any actual users or anything's actually being built on top of it? It's a little sus. Like you got to have the product first and then launch your token and drive value to it through building exciting products, bringing value to your community, and things like that. But I don't know. Some people are just in it for the money, and it's crypto. There's plenty of those people. A lot of people are here for the money. I mean, I think it's wrong to say that people aren't here for the money, right? Like I think it was either Pickles Cage or ICO Beast that made a tweet about this. Like you can be here for the tech and the money. Like you can be here for the tech, and if you get insanely rich because you were here for the tech and that's a side effect of it, like great. There's nothing wrong with being here for airdrops or being here for the outsized gains you can make as opposed to being in like Web 2 finance or any other Web 2 job. Like you're taking risks by being here. Everything is experimental. Nothing is guaranteed. There should be outsized gains for participating in the crypto market. If there weren't, then I don't know. I don't think anyone would be here.
Yeah, for sure. I think I actually even did an article on this exactly a month ago today. That you know, like technology just means new money logic. Like that's how I understand technology to be in like the modern times, because every good new technology always, you know, kind of like redefines how money flows, or like, you know, just creates, you know, new primitives through which money can be created. The internet itself, you know, we now have people literally earning from Twitter. This is because, you know, the underlying technology enabled, you know, the environment we're in right now. So I believe, you know, every good technology is betting new money. So, you know, for someone who probably like bets on the potential of the internet, say in the 1990s, he saw the vision, and then he's kind of like confident that, oh, this technology is going to be here to stay. You know, when you talk about like the internet as it is today to people 20, years ago, like in the mid 1990s, they'll look at you like you're crazy. You get. So I think, but for someone who actually like sees the vision in the technology, you can kind of like almost imagine endless ways through which money can flow. So a technology is supposed to like just bet convenience for you first. Like that's kind of like the underlying like reason why technology matters, like for convenience, and then on top of that, value creation. Like these are the two like important things for technology. So when you say, "Oh, I love this tech," it's because you're excited about the fact it's going to provide you that convenience. That okay, maybe I have to like AI, for example, instead of having to like go to Google and then sift through like thousands of websites. This makes it more convenient for me. That is why I'm using it. Then on top of that, AI, the way people use it now, it has created new ways for them to like generate money, because there's people who probably do not know how to draw, but they are like being artists and they are getting paid for it. All of these things, it's generating income for them. So I think for me, I don't know how other people like see technology, but for me, this is kind of like how I see it. You're able to like provide convenience for me, and then on top of that, you enable sort of like new ways, value, including money, can flow.
Yeah, and I read that article. It was a banger. It was a banger. Abs, we are 2 minutes away from time. This has been an awesome space, and we really appreciate you coming up, sir. Is there anything else you would like to share? Where can we find you? What should we be doing on Garden Finance and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on socials. Like, if you have any questions, if you have anything like that, feel free to DM me. You can also join the Discord as well. We have like a pretty small but a pretty tight knit community there. And we have a lot of support there as well in case you run into something. But yeah, I urge everyone to just like go on like Garden and just try a swap out, or at least look at like the website, the way it's designed. You can do a minimum swap of like $15 or $20. Doesn't have to be crazy, because that's like the sort of limit that we've set. And yeah, like would love feedback on the actual swap itself and like how you guys find out about it. I mean, Lorne, like feel free to let me know after the call how you find out doing a swap on Garden. I would love to have your sort of feedback on it. And I know you've been in the BTC Pi space before, so it would be a good feedback to have on board.
Absolutely, sir. When I as long as my Bitcoin on Hype EVM doesn't get exploited by some horrific North Korea hack, I will bridge it back to mainnet using Garden Finance, and I will let you know my experience.
So easy.
Well, thank you everyone for attending, and we will be back next week. I'll tell you right now, next week's call will be on Monday, because we have a very special guest joining us. And I will be dropping that alpha once we get closer. But be prepared Monday, clear your whole schedule, quit your job if you have to. It's going to be a very good roundtable next week. So thank you all for coming. We'll see you on the timeline as long as Twitter works today. And thank you all for attending. And thank you, Abs, for coming.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye, everyone.